Hello and welcome to episode 83 of Out of State DMing. I am your host, lluksblackheart, and able to join me today is my lovely co-host, LadyCelt. We will be English. I swear I speak it. Pretty much picking up where we left off with the spell I love how I just said English. I speak it. Contingency. This is an
English you speak.
evocation 6th level sorcery wizard spell. Components are verbal, semantic, material, and focus. Casting time at least 10 minutes. See text. That should tell you something right there if it's not necessarily going to uh, properly fill out the actual time. So you know there's something complicated there. Range, personal. Target, you. The duration is 1 day a level or until discharged. The description for contingent. I'm failing English right now. The description for this spell is you can place another spell upon your person so that it comes into effect under some conditions you direct when casting contingency. The spell and the companion spell are cast at the same time. The 10-minute casting time is the minimum total for both castings. If the companion spell has a casting time longer than 10 minutes, use that instead. The spell can be brought into effect by the contingency must be one of that affects your person. Featherfall, levitate, fly, teleport, and so forth. And must be a spell no higher than 1/3 your caster level, rounded down to a maximum of level 6. The conditions needed to bring this spell into effect must be clear, although they can be general. For example, a consistency cast with water breathing might prescribe that any time you are plunged into or otherwise engulfed in water or similar liquid, the water spell instantaneously comes into effect. Or it could bring a feather fall spell into effect anytime you fall more than 4 feet. If all cases, the spell immediately brings into effect the companion spell, the latter being cast instantly when the prescription circumstances occur. If complicated or convoluted conditions are prescribed, the whole spell combination, which is both spells, may fail when called on. The companion spell occurs based solely on the stated conditions, regardless of whether you want it to. You can only use one contingency spell at a time. If a second one is cast, the first one, if still active, is dispelled. Material components. That one of the companion spell opens that of the companion spell plus Quicksilver and a eyelash of an ogre mage, Rashashka, or similar spellcasting creature. Focus. A statuette of you carved from elephant ivory and decorated with gems worth at least 1,500 gold pieces. You must carry the focus for the consistency to work. So there's a lot that goes into the spell.
Yeah.
Now, even though there's a lot, it's still a really good spell unless you use it incorrectly. For instance, like it says, the only
Sorry, my
spells that
Chromebook freaked out.
the only actual spells that can be utilized are pretty much self-only spells. Not, oh, I have a consistency for a fireball to go off the moment I get hit in melee. No, it won't work because that's not a you spell. That's a to who it may be concerned spell. There's also the fact that a lot of people, in my personal experience, have tried using it on all sorts of spells, like magic missile when I say poop de loob. Yes, that's actually happened more than once. People trying to have stupid, nonsensical things said, and then getting mad when I look at them and go, that's not going to work because that's a targeted spell that doesn't target you. But it can be very useful when you're trying to use it on literally any of the spells like it listed, like Featherfall. With the if I fall more than 4 feet, I suddenly don't care because, well, I'm now under the effects of Featherfall. Or water breathing that triggers when I get submerged or engulfed in water. But if you have a slightly convoluted or awkward triggerings, it could botch the entire thing. Like, having it be any liquid literally means any liquid. So if you are considered by any point engulfed in a liquid, water breathing goes off. Well, that literally means any liquid, which could possibly mean that when you get engulfed by a creature that eats you, you are technically surrounded by stomach acid, which is technically a liquid that's now fully around you and engulfed you. Does water breathing now save you? No, it doesn't, because that's acid, not water. So you could end up...
Right. If anything, it makes it worse.
Yeah, because now you're trying to breathe in something that's not going to want you to breathe it in. So it's like, yay. So you do, to a certain degree, have to be careful on what you actually word, because that right by itself could cause you to trigger it in the wrong conditions. Now, another thing is, if the condition is met, the spell goes off. Does not matter if you wanted it to or not. Does not matter if you meant it to or not. It goes off. So if you have levitate to go off the moment you slip, which a lot of people may say that because I've been present when people have. Well, anytime you slip, which is lose your balance and pretty much fall,
Mm-hmm.
now you're levitating. And people going, that's not what I meant. It's like, yeah, that's the condition you put for this spell. So now you're suffering because the spell worked
Could you
exactly the way you meant.
imagine the number of little old ladies we could save from hip replacements with that spell?
Yes. Just instead of actually falling and hitting the ground, they would now be
Just kind of
levitating.
hover.
Yeah.
I'm hovering and I can't get to the wall to get up.
Yeah. You can't get to the wall to get up. Yeah, but I've been present more than enough times when people are trying to use this spell for things that the spell doesn't work on, and either the DM is tired of arguing and therefore letting it pass, or has no idea what the spell actually does other than lets you prep a spell in place of itself that can be cast on a later date. Which isn't technically wrong, but by not knowing what the spell does, you are setting yourself up for undesired shenanigans. And I say undesired shenanigans because that's technically what's going to happen is someone's going to get an idea to use it, and you're now going to be stuck having to deal with an
Come on up.
individual who's taking full advantage of the entire thing and making you wish you never did it because you didn't read the spell, or in some random cases weren't actively paying attention. So when I say with much certainty that a lot of people I've been subjugated to playing with have literally out of nowhere decided that they're going to do stupid stuff because the DM lets them, I full on mean it. There's just the sheer amount of why, what the heck, please don't, has happened too many times for me not to remember it.
Read your spells.
I think that's going to be our catchphrase, read their spells. If we ever have merch,
I'm considering making us
t-shirt.
bumper stickers for the podcast that says, it has our stuff on the bottom and then it says, read your spells. And little graphics of dice everywhere so people know what we're talking about.
Have it look like a scroll.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
No, but it's one of those things that if we ever get to the point where we have any sort of merch, that's definitely going to be our catchphrase. But yeah, but like I said, it's still a decent spell. It's still a good spell. You just have to not be stupid with it. With that being said, if you have any questions about contingency other than my inability to pronounce that word, please leave a comment. The next spell is a spell I do like a lot, but it suffers from the people. I say it suffers from people because it literally does, and that's because they don't know what words mean. I'm not using our catchphrase.
Understand your spells. Now, if you don't, have a grown-up explain them.
Without you actually reading it, because I know you have the book in front of you, I'm going to say the name, and then you're going to take a guess on how many times I've had to look at a person and go, that's not how this spell works. Continual Flame.
Let me guess, were we trying to put it in our pockets? Nope. And things?
It's nothing to do with putting it in the pockets.
Okay. Let me see. What would the idiots that I know do with what was it you said? Continual flames?
Flame. Just off the name of the spell, what idiocy do you think becomes to people trying to use this spell that could possibly make me go, that's not how this spell works?
Campfires, torches.
Well,
what's the best one you've ever had?
Are valid uses of the spell. Continuous Flame is a permanent flame because it will be present as long as it can. So it's something dispelling it is pretty much what it's going to actually take to get rid of it. So it's not an easy spell to get rid of. But I'm going to go through the meat of the spell and not do the description. This is an evocation light, 3rd level Cleric, second level sorcerer wizard. Components are verbal semantic material. Casting time, 1 standard action. Range, touch, target. Object touch. Effect, magical heatless flame. Duration, permanent. Saving throw, none. Spell resistance, none. Now, was there any keywords I just used that could probably point you in a...
That would be heatless,
Yeah, yeah,
and you can't use it to stay warm.
pretty much. It's a heatless flame. The description: a flame equivalent in brightness to a torch springs forth from the
Mm-hmm.
object that you touch. The effect looks like a regular flame, but it creates no heat and doesn't use oxygen. A continuous flame can be converted and covered and hidden, but not smothered or quenched. Light spells counter and dispel darkness spells of equal or lower level. Material component: you must sprinkle ruby dust worth 50 gold pieces on the item that is to be carrying of the flame.
Okay. I'm
Now,
not, I mean, what good is that? I mean, yes, if you go in a lot of places that need light, that's great. But if you're traveling through the mountains and you need a flame to keep you warm, this isn't going to work.
it's not for heat. It's literally I'm going to
Right.
take a torch. Doesn't even have to be a grand torch or anything. And I'm going to hit it with a continuous flame. The ever burning torch that you can get as an adventurer uses this spell. Can you light fires with it? No. Can you light your opponents on fire with it? No. That's because it's solely used for light. If you want heat, build a real fire. If you want to light something on fire, use real fire. This spell does not care.
It's a D&D LED candle.
Pretty much. It is literally there needs to be light, and because it cannot be quenched, smothered, or otherwise put out without someone hitting it with like a dispel magic, the spell will continuously, constantly work. So there is no stressing of any kind whether or not the spell is going to be super effective, because, well, it's solely for light.
Right. It's, like I said, it's great if you find yourself in dungeons a lot.
Yeah. The
Or you're traveling and you need, and it's, or that you're trying to sneak someplace around a lot of flammable things and you need light that's not a torch and gonna blow you to kingdom come.
yeah, its sole thing is literally just like the amount of people are like, I cast a tenuous flame. Now this bad guy's going to be on fire forever. It's like, that's not
No, no.
how the spell works. Yes, it is. It's like, no,
No, no, it
no.
isn't.
That that's 100% not how it works. Um, doesn't matter if you agree on whether or not the spell should work like that. It doesn't work like that. So it's like, it's one of those things that really makes you not like a lot of people. And I'm not saying our catchphrase, but I do love this spell because when you're in a area with enclosed space, or you like are somewhat worried about possibly lighting having a fire go, and burn stuff, this spell goes, no, no, we don't worry about that, which makes me love it. The fact you can just take a sack, cover it, and now you're stopping all light it's producing. Therefore, you don't have to stress uh, the smell of smoke giving the party away. You don't have to worry about
Right.
lighting something on fire by accident while trying to put it out.
I was thinking, because I'm looking at the spell and I'm reading the details, it would be ideal if you're caught in a very small, confined area because it doesn't use oxygen.
Yeah, it right there doesn't use oxygen, which means you can use it underwater because it can't be drenched, so it's still producing that fake fire. When you're in a dungeon or a cave and you're trapped, well, because it's not consuming oxygen, it's not a problem because you're not going to suffocate. And because it's not producing
Right.
smoke, it's not only not producing a smell, but you're not going to suffocate that way either.
Right.
So it is a very, very handy thing. And since it's technically permanent, and therefore can't really necessarily be properly countered unless someone hits it with a higher level um, darkness spell. The light spells and darkness spells uh, get countered and dispelled by spells of their opposite that are higher. So, for instance, if this is cast by a cleric, it's a third level spell, which means if a fourth level or higher darkness spell is cast, it gets countered. But if it's cast by a sorcerer or wizard, it counts as a second level spell. Hi, Nova. Thank you for joining us. Uh, it can be countered by third level or higher darkness spells, and that's just because of how light and darkness spells work. Now, needless to say, it's still super effective, it's still super useful, and when it comes to random spells, it actually doesn't take necessarily as uh, many of those spells as other spells might, simply because it's only 20, no, 20, it's only 50 gold pieces worth of loot, which is for a third level spell costing money, may seem like a lot, but not really. There is spells that uh, take a lot more. So in the grand scheme of things, still golden. But I still just, it's worth having. Even if you never really use it, it's still worth having. Just don't be one of those retards that are like, I want this person to be on fire forever. It's like, they're not an object, and that's not how it works. But if you have any questions about continual flame, please leave a comment. Our next spell is a high level spell and has lots of good uses. You just have to remember that there are dumb people out there. Control plants.
I spent 30 years in retail. Believe me, I know the depths of stupidity. And I'm afraid that it can go even lower.
Yeah, it can. Uh, there's control plants is one of those spells that can easily end up making you just full on, because not everyone is as smart as they want to be or think they are. Control plants is one of those plants that I've had trouble with people thinking that it does more than what it states because
Well, you're not. It
people.
says, okay, it says plant creatures.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean you can create an ent from a tree, or does it?
No. Here's what the backbone of the spell before we get into the description. This is a transmutation, 8th level druid spell, 8th level plant domain spell, which means you either have to be a druid or a high level cleric with access to the plant domain. Components are verbal, semantic, divine focus, casting time 1 standard action, range close, targets up to 2 hit dice per level of plant creatures, no two of which can be more than 30 feet apart. Duration 1 minute a level. Saving throw will negates. Spell resistance no. This spell enables you to control the actions of one or more plant creatures for a short period of time. You command the creatures by voice, and they understand you no matter what language you speak. Even if your vocal communication is impossible, in the area of a silent spell, for instance, the controlled plants do not attack you. At the end of the spell, the subjects revert to their normal behavior. Suicidal or self destructive commands are simply ignored. So, this is a very simple spell. It's not complicated, it's not diluted or anything. It is extremely simple and pretty straightforward. Primarily because there's not much really to what it does other than exactly what it says. The amount of players, though, that I have encountered that make me want to faceplant when it comes to this spell are high. They assume that they get to control vast armies of plant creatures, even though it says that there's a clear limit. Because, yes, there's people out there that don't understand what limits are. There is people out there that assume that just because it says what it says, they're not going to actually have to do any work to get the creature. And it's just somewhat sad because it means they're not actually paying attention. There's people out there that forget that it's only plant creatures, which is hilarious for what the spell states.
Okay. What are those little mushroom guys that run around?
You have to be more.
I only know about them because I painted a bunch.
Uh, are you talking about like the ones normally found in the Underdark that look like just walking mushrooms?
Yeah.
Well, there's mycelia and it's mycelia. It's mycelionoids, and there's another type of one, but they're mushroom people. They are plant creatures.
Right.
So, like, if you've played the new Boulder Gate game, there's a point where you get to interact with a bunch of them, and if you do things right, you can get one as a companion. Those are plant creatures. So, mushroom creatures or fungi creatures are plant creatures in D&D. even though technically
That
it's
was going to be
not
my
in
next question. Is there a
a
distinction between those and plants?
no D&D summarize them as a plant creature, which some people might go, well, that doesn't make sense or anything. It's like from a D&D
Yeah,
standpoint,
but
yes, it does, primarily because of the number of people that can't wrap their heads around what is or isn't an actual plant. Like, for instance,
which is
having to explain the difference between a humanoid and a monstrous humanoid.
right.
It's like that there's a difference, and that's primarily in what they call what they're called. One's called a monstrous humanoid, the other one's not. And there's some things that are considered humanoids, even though they should probably be considered monstrous, while other things that should be considered humanoid are given monstrous. D&D is weird like that. Uh,
Yep.
control control plants is one of them. Another thing that manages to somehow aggravate people is they assume they're going to get permanent control because they're casting a
Does,
8th level spell.
but does it have a limit of time on it?
1 minute per caster level.
Then it's not permanent.
Yeah. It's not even one of the spells that can be made permanent, but it is one of those spells that because people either don't read or can't read, I
Well, I
see.
mean, I get it if you have issues with reading or, English isn't your first language and you come here and you can only find it in English. I get that.
Yeah, it's like if
But,
there's a
you know,
legit problem like being dyslexic or having to have it in certain fonts, things like that, it's understandable. It makes sense. But the catchphrase of just read your spell falls on deaf ears when there's plenty of people out there that just don't read. So it goes from
yeah,
a standpoint of all you have to do is read your spell to why isn't this person over here reading their spell? Like in one of the campaigns I play around with, one of the players is finally happy because he did actually read the spell and he got somewhat borderline upset that one of the spells he wanted to use he couldn't use because he didn't have access to holly berries or acorns because the region didn't have those particular plants in them. Do you know how many people will try to argue that it doesn't matter if the spell exists? You should be able to cast it regardless of whether or not the material component is actually in the area.
I'm telling you that people who have worked customer service in any kind of retail environment are great DMs because it sets you up so well to be a DM. You deal with people who don't pay any attention to the rules. They expect special treatment. They expect rules not to apply to them. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's a little bit of self conditioning, but
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm being humorous, of course.
uh, it, it it's just the number of people that, despite evidence suggesting otherwise, that full on prove that they can't read are hilarious. Uh, but this still is a powerful spell. It's a potent spell. This again is an 8th level spell, which means not counting. Well, actually, we can count it because you have to have at least an 18 in your casting stat to cast it. It means it has a DC to resist it of at least a 22, which is good. Even though by that particular point, the creatures you're going to try to use it on are either going to be a large group of relatively weak creatures or a single very high hit die creature that has most likely a good enough save to not necessarily care. Just people do forget that the higher level you are, the higher level creatures you can technically go take on, and it also means the higher their saving throws are going to be. But with
I'm getting a weird thing.
who's getting a weird thing?
My phone gave me a weird message and it looked a little it it was something that I thought I should attend to, but it's just advertisers are getting more and more clever. I'll just say that.
Those bloody advertisers. No, but needless to say, if you have any questions or comments about the spell Control Plants, please leave a message. It'll be much appreciated. The next spell is another spell that's made me giggle because of the amount of times that it's horrifically backfired. Control Undead. The amount of times this spell has failed has primarily been people not paying attention to how powerful of an undead they're actually facing and thinking that because this is a high level spell that it's gonna work. It's another one of those. Despite its level, it does not mean auto success. This is a necromancy, 7th level sorcerer wizard. Casting time 1 standard action. Components are verbal semantic material. Range close. Targets up to 2 hit die per level of undead creatures, no 2 of which can be more than 30 feet apart. Duration 1 minute a level. Saving throw will negates. Spell resistance, yes. Description: this spell enables you to command undead creatures for a short period of time. You command them by voice, and they understand you no matter what language you speak. Even if vocal commands is impossible in the area of a silent spell, for instance, the controlled undead do not attack you. At the end of the spell, the subjects revert to their normal behavior. Intelligent undead creatures remember that you controlled them. Material component: a small piece of
That could
bone
be bad.
and a small piece of raw meat. Now, because this is a high level spell, a lot of people assume that it automatically works. Well, it's not guaranteed to auto work. Because again, all undead are entitled to a saving throw to resist it. It is not limited to only intelligent undead. It's all undead. The counter is you have to have at least a 17 in your stat to cast it, so you have at least a DC of 20. So right there is a not so high chance of failure because, well, it's a DC 20 and you're probably not necessarily going to be full on fighting Godzilla with it.
Right.
Even though that would be funny to go, I'm gonna
Yeah,
fight Godzilla. Uh, but because it is limited to the exact amount of undead that it can directly or indirectly affect, you have to remember that simple thing is it's limited. There is no automatic. If it's there, I get it mine. Because there's a lot of people that assume that, which does make me somewhat sad. Because this spell I have seen fail when people go, I'm going to control this lich. Oh, it gets a saving throw. It doesn't bypass spell resistance, so you do have to watch out for that. Because all it's really going to take for a undead to laugh at you is, well, for you to forget that some things do have spell resistance. Now, this spell is still
Now,
extremely
would it work on
powerful.
a lich?
Yes, it would. Lich is not immune to being commanded by the spell command control undead. Most liches are at least like a 12 hit die, like an 11 or 12 hit die creature, which
Right.
means you can still end up having a good chance to control it without overly stressing things. Because again, you get by the time you cast this, you're going to be at least maybe 14th level. So right there, just off of that, you're going to have a pretty decent chance of success, despite what some people may or may not actually say or think. Because, well, if you're high enough level, any undead can be put on that list. And trust me when I say there's a lot of people that forget that. Another neat thing is the fact that as long as you're paying attention to what exactly you're trying to do, you can get away with a lot of shenanigans with spells. This being one of them. Because again, as long as you're high enough level, it doesn't matter what undead you're going after. You can control it. So it's a more of a level thing on your part, not a it thing, which is always good. But this is another, just like control plants, it's another very simple spell. Uh, and one of the reasons why it gets to be so good is because it is solely limited to undead. There is no random miscommunication about what what it is or isn't affecting. And I say that because there is a lot of people out there that will gladly not pay attention and assume that spells work and try to have work. Just like with control plants, I've been present when people have gone, I cast control dead on it. It's like, one, it's not an undead creature, it's just a random corpse on the ground. Or two, the DM said it looked like a walking corpse. He never said it was a walking corpse.
Right. And you can't use the spell to make something that is dead become undead.
Yeah, it's a wrong type of spell. It's not a create dead spell. It is literally in.
Well, anybody can create dead.
Depends on what you refer to as dead. Just technically speaking, to a certain degree, yeah, anyone can technically create dead. You just have to kill something. And that's how easy it is to create dead.
Now, in theory, using the control undead, if you have a zombie master, whatever you want to say, could a zombie master take the dead, raise them, and then somebody people use control undead to flip, to Uno reverse that army?
Technically, yes. If there is a necromancer or a lich that's creating undead, and you have to go fight those undead, and you or one of your party members has direct access to the spell Control Undead, you can go, for X amount of time, those are my undead. You can then use them to try to defeat the other guy's undead, or if there's enough of them to overwhelm them because you're high enough level, you can technically enjoy the luxuries of watching the big bad guy get torn to pieces by his own undead army. That the spell bypasses control to a point that the only way another individual to take back what you've done, they would have to either A, completely and totally dismiss your spell, which in amongst itself could cause problems. There's sometimes a lot of the dispels get rid of everything that's on the creature, not just one specific thing. But they either have to kill you, destroy the undead that you graciously took from them, and or pretty much cast their own control undead spell to regain control, and it's a who spell lasts longer scenario. So there's plenty of points of contention where you can literally very joyfully take away you can easily take away a necromancer's ability to combat you by simply just taking their undead from them. But we have somewhat beat this spell to death for the moment. If any of you who are watching this or do watch this, if you have any questions about the spell Control Undead, please leave a comment. The next spell is a pretty complicated spell. Control Water. Even though just by its name it should sound pretty simple. This is a transmutation water, 4th level cleric, 4th level druid, 6th level sorcerer wizard, 4th level water domain spell. So a lot of people can have access to it, especially clerics who can get it as a domain spell for having access to the water domain. But there's just multiple points of egress for multiple people to be able to get it. Components: verbal, semantic, material / divine focus. Casting time,
Okay.
1 standard action. Range, long. Area, water in a volume of 10 feet per level by 10 feet per level by 2 feet per level. Pretty much 10 feet long, 10 feet wide, 2 feet high per level. So the higher level you are, the bigger the area of effect. Duration, 10 minutes a level, so it lasts a long time. Saving throw, none, see text. Spell resistance, No. Description. Depending on the version you choose, the control water spell raises or lowers the water. Keyword on or. This is either raising it or lowering it. Lower water. This causes water or similar liquid to reduce in depth by as much as 2 feet per castle level to a minimum depth of 1 inch. The water is lowered within a square depression where its sides are up to castle level. Oh yeah, where the sides are up to castle level times 10 feet long. In extremely large and deep bodies of water, such as deep ocean, the spell causes a whirlpool that sweeps ships and similar craft downward, putting them at risk of rendering them unable to leave by normal movement for the duration of the spell. When cast on water elementals and other water based creatures, this spell acts as a slow spell, will negates. This spell has no effect on other creatures. I'll go into that in a moment. Raise water. This causes water or similar liquids to rise in height, just as the lower water version causes it to lower. Boats rise in this way, slide down the sides of the hump that the spell creates. If the area affected by the spell includes riverbanks, a beach, or other land nearby, the water can spill over onto dry land. With either version, you may reduce one hor, hor,
Horizontal dimension.
horizontal dimension by half and double the other horizontal dimension. Arcane component: a drop of water for raised water or a pinch of dust for lower water. But in
Okay, so you can only raise it and lower it.
yes,
You can't like take a ball of water and throw it at somebody.
exactly. That's what
Okay.
pisses a lot of people off about this spell because they assume that because it says, "Oh, I can control water," that they can pretty much get away with murder. I say that because they literally, I've seen people go, I cast control water on this person here. It's like, that's not going to do anything. Well, yeah, it means I can control the water inside of them. It's like, that's not how this spell works. It's like, I love the enthusiasm, but the spell won't work like that at all. The spell will only, pretty much in essence, do exactly what it says. No more, no less. People have tried to use it to immediately just kill things in any which way they possibly can, even though it's like, not what the spell does. They've tried to just, I'm gonna sound like a complete asshole for saying this. The main reason I became a huge stickler for a lot of the letter of the book is the major difference between players who fully understand and comprehend that things don't always work out the way you want or think. So you can't necessarily always rely on spells to do exactly what you think, but also people just
Okay.
having spells to work the way they're not supposed to. But control water, it's still a very good spell because it does clarify uh, in its wording that where is it? Uh, I remember. Yeah. This causes water or similar liquid. So as long as the DM completely clarifies, or just in other words, green lights it, any similar liquid, which could be just about any liquid in the entirety of the game, can be lowered or raised. So, hey, is that a river of acid or a pool of acid? Okay, yeah. Did you get swallowed by a literal true kaiju and there's flowing acid everywhere? Technically, if the DM permits it, you can have that lower to a safer dip, so you're not technically being immediately uh, eaten by the acid. So yeah, be inventive with it, but at the same time, don't be a dick. Uh, does it lets you manipulate actual liquid, not something that's inside a person?
I was gonna say you can't like pull somebody's blood like all in the wrong place or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. You can't do anything like that. And like I'm not gonna lie, that stuff does somewhat sound cool and stuff, but it's like one of those everyone tries to do it. The spell doesn't work like that. If you want to try to drown someone, you can raise the water around them up. Or if you want to try to save someone from drowning and the area's water is low enough, you can lower it. But that's pretty much about it. There's no huge overlapping shenanigans that let you pretty much ignore stuff. Even though there's plenty of people
Okay.
out there that want to treat the letter of the word as something that can be, well, not something that can be, but they treat it as something that should be ignored. Does I people? It's amazing why it's like it's a wonder why that I still play the D&D.
Okay. Well, it's 7 o'clock. I'm gonna have to get off here because I think my laptop's getting ready to die, and I don't know what I did with the cord. But it's safe wherever it is.
Yeah, that was the last spell I was going to cover, anyways. Does we get kind of start late?
Well, I had a great. I think everything went great, and I had a good time.
Yeah. If you guys
All
have
right.
any
Have a
comments
good
or
night, everyone.
questions, please leave a comment about Control Water, and we will catch you next week for more out of state
I
DMing.
may not be on next week because it's Yorktown.
Yorktown and wait, they can suffer.
Well, you don't get on till wait a minute. Never mind. I can be on because it's over at 3.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, yeah. Okay, I'll be there. All right. See you
Bye.
next week. Bye.